Well, with the Sioux Falls School Board election coming up next week, we're taking the time to sit down with the candidates to learn more about their vision for education in the community and how they plan to address the challenges that are facing the school system. Dawn Marie Johnson joined us live in the studio here at 5:30. Thank you for making the time for us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What is the biggest challenge in your estimation that public school education is facing right now?
Well, I've taken the time to talk to educators, to survey, to be out and door knock. And the biggest thing that's on everybody's mind right now is the social studies standards. There's a growing concern of how that's going to be implemented, how much money it's going to cost, and the time it's going to take to actually implement into the classroom.
What do you think about those standards as you've gone through this process of researching to run for the board here? Do you like them? Are you concerned by them? Where do you fall on this?
I openly testified against them when there was a hearing here in Sioux Falls. I have a physical copy that I've printed out, and I've been able to browse through this really thick literature. And again, looking at it and recognizing the time it's going to take to implement, I do see it's going to be really challenging for teachers to be able to find the space, energy necessary to get something like this put in.
This is one of those topics that people don't like to talk about, but we have to, given the world that we're in right now.
Yes.
School safety.
Yes.
Are Sioux Falls public schools safe in your estimation, or are there things that could be done to make them safer?
Safety is number one. I have a daughter who goes to school here in Sioux Falls, and I've actually directed programs where I built the safety plan, and I recognize how challenging it is to make sure you are doing everything possible to prevent anything from happening. And I think this is always going to be something that needs to be revisited as people continue to get crafty with how they're entering in schools. I have worked in the Sioux Falls School District, and I have seen what it takes to keep folks from coming in, or the check-in measures. So whereas I was an educator inside, I felt safe. But if somebody's determined, somebody's determined. So it's always going to be something we should revisit and talk about.
Let's talk about background here for a second. What do you bring to the school board if you're elected? What is your background? What's your experience?
Yeah, so I've been inside a school setting for 10 years. I've directed after-school programs, and just recently I was the Career Technical Education and Community Outreach Coordinator at the Joe Foss Axtell Park building. I have a master's in social work, and I've been a part of a lot of educational and community-focused collaborative boards for quite some time.
I want to talk about teacher training for a moment here, and making sure that the teachers in our schools have the support they need. You know, teaching is different now than it was even 10 years ago.
Yes.
The standards that teachers have to keep track of. In some cases, the behavior that teachers have to deal with. What would you do as a member of the school board to make sure that those teachers have the support they need, the training they need, that the teachers feel that their voices are being heard by the upper echelon of the school district?
Yeah, absolutely. We have to have our educators involved in this conversation. I do have experience working at the Axtell Park building and as a social worker, going through behaviors and looking at behavioral models. I have seen the implementation of the more recent behavior models that the Sioux Falls School District has, and I want to be able to recognize and appreciate that children are growing, evolving, society is changing, Sioux Falls is growing, that we constantly have to look at this to ensure that we're building the proper culture for each school. So how are we continuing to build the relationship with the educators, build the relationship with the communities so they get more active in it, to be sure that we're putting our best foot forward and implementing the right program to help our educators. Mental health is a big topic for all of us, and given the pandemic that we just are still on recovery mode from, I don't know if we've really addressed that we've gone through some world-changing events. So checking in with our educators, looking at the models, being lifelong learners, and knowing that we're going to have to change as society changes, those are all important.
Real quick, gymnastics.
Yes.
Cut from the school district's budget.
Yes.
Right call, tough call. Could it be revisited? What do you think?
I'm hopeful we can revisit it. I am a product of a public school student who was in sports, and I understand and recognize the leadership skills and the confidence that comes from being in sports.
All right. Dawn Marie Johnson, running for the Sioux Falls School Board. Thank you for the time. Thank you for
you.
coming in. I sure do appreciate it. Now, coming up tomorrow on Dakota News Now, we will meet another school board candidate. Brian Matson will join us in studio. Again, you can catch that interview at 5:30 right here on KDLT. And a reminder, the Sioux Falls School Board election is set for May 16th. And we'll be right back.